Hey everyone, Noel here. Happy New Year. Welcome to the year 2024. So I am here. It is about 15 minutes after midnight, and one of the annual holiday traditions is one of my friends hosts this 2-day long New Year's Crapathon, a marathon of just kind of random round robin movies. We get bad movies, we get weird movies, sometimes some very good movies, not all the time. And we just wrapped up day one, and I just wanted to give a little heads up as to what we watched. So we started with Shinobi-Geddon, which is the new documentary about the history of the rise and fall of the 80s ninja movie. It is an incredibly hilarious and impeccably researched documentary, especially getting into the Hong Kong art of the Frankenflicks, where they would just kind of stitch various movies together, add American actors to existing Asian movies. It's on YouTube. It is a very hilarious documentary. Then our second film was Yeti, Giant of the 20th Century. This is a film I saw before, back when I used to host a kaiju flick movie night, and it is an Italian entry into the Kongsploitation ripoff of the 70s King Kong movie, and much like Mighty Peking Man, I actually think it is a more entertaining movie than the 1970s Dino De Laurentiis King Kong. It is weird and silly and cheesy, and someone decided to give him a prosthetic erect nipple. I don't know why. I actually really love the look of the Yeti, where he's like a big fursuit, and instead of giving him a mask, they just got this bearded actor to wear this giant fright wig and just emote and express a lot, and then roar. And it's a silly movie, but it's fun, it's energetic, there's a lot of really clever shots and sequences. Then our second film, and my first pick of the evening, Cats on Park Avenue, which was a Japanese film that came in the wake of Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats. Yes, really. And it's also mixing in elements of Fame and Chorus Line, and it is a dance troupe is putting together a dance. I'm mangling my words. It is a dance troupe is putting together a musical based on the cats in the neighborhood, and so it's the girls in the neighborhood finding inspirations for their characters from the cats. It's the cats helping out the girls. Then there's this weird third act where someone puts together like a cat Ghostbusters unit where they're just going around and hunting all the cats, and they're going to kill all the ones that aren't purebred. It's a weird movie. And then the Holy Cross of Jesus shows up a few times. It's a little slow for the first hour, but the musical numbers are great. It suddenly becomes an animated sequence for no reason. There's a whole opening sequence with a cat on a skateboard that's just delightful. This is one I recently discovered, and I'm glad I was able to find a subtitle track for. Cats on Park Avenue. Then our next film was Turkish Star Wars, which I believe is called The Man Who Saves the Earth in its original title, but this is the one that famously opens with like 10 minutes of the lead character superimposed, or not even superimposed, just standing in front of a back projection of the movie Star Wars. And then it just becomes like basically a Shaw Brothers knockoff of just constant martial arts battles. Not really much plot. There's, a princess, there's these two guys, and they're friends, but then they have to fight each other, and then there's an evil space wizard that corrupted Christianity and drinks the blood of people, and someone gets a giant metal lightning bolt sword, and it's silly. They had no money. They filmed it in a few days, but you know what? It's energetic, it's snappily edited, the fight scenes are fun. So yeah, Turkish Star Wars, I actually quite enjoyed it. And I hear there's a better remaster out there, because the print that we watched was pretty rough. But I would like to actually see the cleaned up version. But it's you know what, I think there's a lot to be said for a film that has energy and enthusiasm. And that can win a lot of points for me, no matter how silly and cheap it is. And then the next one we did was the 1972 sequel to The Blob called Beware the Blob, which was directed by Larry Hagman, of all people. And it's a weird movie where, like, the first hour is less a monster movie and more just Larry Hagman got all of his celebrity buddies together and just improvised a bunch of weird counterculture comedy sketches, but they're actually really fun and amusing. And even the blob attack effects, especially with the red backlighting, is very effectively done. And then when you get to the third act, where it's, focusing on just the horror of the blob taking over a bowling arena of all places and just eating people left and right, it actually takes a nice serious turn without losing all of the comedy edge. And I actually liked it. I actually found it a really weirdly effective movie. It's a very unconventional movie, but I actually really enjoyed it. And then we did my next pick, which was Chie the Brat. Chie the Brat is a 1981 anime film by Isao Takahata, the other half of Studio Ghibli, the guy who did Grave of the Fireflies, Pompoko, Only Yesterday. And it was from 1981. It was done just a few years before the formation of Studio Ghibli. It's based on a very long-running comic strip about this kind of rambunctious young girl named Chie, kind of like a Nancy or a Dennis the Menace style storyline. But it deals with like her misadventures around the neighborhood, and it's kind of just like a poor, rundown neighborhood, overrun with yakuza and alcoholism and gambling, but it's also people just kind of pulling together and becoming friends and just, moving on with their lives. But it's also this really kind of dark story about her struggling relationship with her father, he's not abusive or drunk, but he's just this kind of louse who never accepts responsibility for his own poor choices, even when those are constantly holding his daughter back. And there's like even a great scene where she's in a marathon race and she's running and he's running after her, and it's like he's trying to cheer her on to run, not realizing that what she's running away from is him. And that's where it's a very artistic movie. It's a very intelligent movie, but it's also a very sweet and funny and gag-driven movie, and has an entire subplot involving cat testicles. And and it's also just impeccably well animated. This was probably a much better film than we would usually do for Crapfest, but it had a weird enough bent to it that I still thought it was appropriate. And then for our last movie, we did not finish a movie yet, so I'll probably recap this one in the next video, but we did at least start Arena, the 1989 Charles Band, Irwin Yablon's production, where it's a boxer in a space station. And it's one I haven't seen in probably almost 30 years, but I remember watching back in the day. But we only got through half of it tonight before we hit midnight, and we were all getting pretty tired, so we decided to call it a night. And, well, here we are. So this is me in the car. I'm just about to head home. Happy New Year.